She was right around my age, but I wasn't going to mess with that. You better don't. Not when Dean Martin over there friends with the Frankie Sinatra. And everybody knows that Frankie Sinatra got them mob ties. Leave it alone. You make music and smoke CP. You don't fight with the mob. Oh, my life,
hello there, bugs. Hello there, bellas. If you have not already done so, please remember to like, share to Facebook, subscribe, and cash app your favorite narrator at $NAROB on YouTube. And if you are not already a part of this book club, please hit the Patreon link below and or the join button here on the YouTube, and for a small monthly fee of $5, you babies, yes you, can be privy to all the shenanigans before the YouTube gets it, if the YouTube gets it.
Now, let's continue reading. Thank you for letting me be myself again. Sly Stone. Jimmy and I were close for a while, off and on. He was more raw than he seemed. He thought I would hit it off with Bobby Womack. Bobby had been singing since he was a kid, like Billy Preston, like me. First with his brothers as a gospel group, and then behind Sam Cooke, who changed their name to the Valentinos and produced hits for them like Looking for Love and It's Over Now. When Sam Cooke died, Bobby married Sam's widow, which made people mad. Record stations would throw his records in the trash. He toured with Ray Charles and was just getting his solo career going. Jim put me and Bobby together. According to Bobby, at our first meeting, he was dressed like an R&B singer used to dress. In a suit, carrying a briefcase. He said that I told him that he wasn't a businessman and didn't need to dress that way, that he should dress natural, and that I opened up his briefcase and what fell out was a muffin and a sandwich. I don't know what fell out, but Bobby and I fell in together. We got on well. He had a hell of a soul, yeah, and he could play guitar like a motor scooter. Family Stone was in higher demand than ever. We rolled like thunder through Detroit, South Bend, Gainesville, Phoenix, San Antonio. A travel log sounds easy when it's just words on page. Even if you're looking at a map, you can just move your finger from place to place. But if you have to actually be located at those locations at the time specified, it's complicated, draining, and boring, with only the energy of the shows to keep the whole thing lit. Sometimes I didn't make it, and shows had to be rescheduled. Woodstock was still a recent memory, and every city wanted its own version to see if lightning could strike twice. There was a July festival on Randall's Island in New York designed as a large liberation event with participation from groups like Black Panthers, the Young Lords, the Latino version of the Panthers, the Yippies, the Gay Liberation Front, and more. They booked John Sebastian, Joe Cocker. What would you do if I sang you a tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? The Wonder Years. Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song. and I try not to sound out of key. When Cocker canceled, we were slotted in as his replacement, but they couldn't work out the contracts and we pulled out. Crawdaddy had to take the message to the Panthers and the Lords. In Minneapolis, a few days later, there was another Bethel reunion, the open air festival with us, Richie Havens, and the blues guitarist Johnny Winter. I didn't know Johnny well, but I liked his look. His long white blonde hair and ghostly complexion. His brother Edgar, who was also an albino, was funkier. A few years later, when Edgar had a big hit with Frankenstein, I ran into Johnny at a hotel. "What's up?" Johnny said. "Edgar," I said. Johnny laughed hard at that. So right about now, we're in the time where he's starting to get the reputation for being flaking out on things that he says he's going to do. And how he eloquently puts it in the book makes you feel like, okay, he's drained, he's worn out, tired from all the shows. But let's, keep things into perspective. Let's start at point A and not this BC bullshit. Part A is if you lived a clean and sober life, if you took care of yourself properly, if you wasn't around here having 3 girlfriends at the same time, yes, it would still be tiring. Yes, it would be hard, but at least you were at your best. You would be able to make these shows. But when you around here smoking dippers, how you expect for a person to believe that you're being your best or trying your best to hold true to all your contracts? I wouldn't book them. I'm not booking the Sly and the Family Stone. The record label wanted hits of a different kind. They were still asking about the album, a little louder each time. Crawdaddy kept telling me, and I kept telling him that I understood. The record company had other things to do, other hits to handle. I never promised you a rose garden, for example. I hadn't promised that or anything else. When we wouldn't move, they did. Epic released our first album. A whole new thing with a new cover that showed me in the middle surrounded by a rainbow. In November, it was followed by Greatest Hits, which collected 5 songs from Stand, 4 from before it, and the 3 recent singles, Hot Fun in the Summertime, Everybody is a Star, and Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself Again. I had said in interviews that I would never put out a Greatest Hits. I stood by that. I hadn't put it out. Epic had. I had moved out of the Coldwater house to a place that fit even better. It was at 783 Bel Air Road. I got the house from John Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas. Pause. Okay. Sly said it was like a scavenger hunt in the house because they kept bumping into stashes of drugs. I liked many of the houses I lived in, but I liked that one the best. It was across the street from where they filmed the Beverly Hillbillies, which was a turn on. I could turn on the TV, tune in the show, and realize I was right there. And there was a hidden recording studio in the place. You went up to the top floor and pushed a panel on the wall at the top of the stairs, opened Sesame style. It had been built for John Phillips. Red walls with lots of padding, thick carpet. There were people around all the time. My dad was there for a while. The band came in and out, some staying for a party, some for a while. I had visitors, Bobby, Billy, Jimmy Ford, Buddy, Miles, Johnny Guitar Watson, Ike Turner. We didn't keep a guest book. There were, as always, dogs. Everyone in and around the house had dogs. I also had a baboon named Earthy, meaning earthy. I forget where I got him. Baboon store? Taking time, making time. Debbie was gone at some point. No hard feelings, just a feeling that things were no longer easy. And you peoples down in the comments, that's why I loved you. You people down in the comments, I think it was Timmy, had told me that Debbie, she is beautiful too. She is still beautiful. She ended up marrying Carlos Santana. She divorced his ass, but she ended up marrying him. Oh, she was exceptionally beautiful, baby. I love it when you see, like beautiful women and then they age well. You be like, God damn, I bet you was something seriously pretty when you was young. Taking time, making time. Debbie was gone at some point. No hard feelings. Just a feeling that things were no longer easy. Stephanie was still on the scene, and plenty of other girls came to hang or play. I met Claudia Martin, Dean Martin's daughter. She walked right up to me and made eyes. It was clear what she wanted, but I didn't let it go any further. It wasn't that she was too young. She was right around my age, but I wasn't going to mess with that. You better don't. Not when Dean Martin apart over there friends with the damn Frankie Sinatra. And everybody knows that Frankie Sinatra got them mob ties. Leave it alone. You make music and smoke PCP. You don't fight with the mob, Sly. That's not what you do. Leave that shit alone. Okay, you don't want no problems with the Rat Pack. Okay. Some of the women weren't my age.
Is he talking about Doris Day?
Or is he talking about girls being young as fuck? I don't know. Some of the women weren't my age. Steve Paley visited me once and told me that as he had driven up, he had seen a bus with a bunch of old people, mostly women, parked out front. What's up, he said. You have all these white-haired fans. I laughed. No, I said. Jeanette MacDonald. Before the house had belonged to John Phillips, it had belonged to a Hollywood talent manager, and before that it had been the home of Jeanette MacDonald and Gene Raymond, Hollywood stars of the 30s and 40s. They had called it Twin Gables and owned plenty of dogs as well. The buses were driven up to give their passengers a glimpse of the past. Work visits, social visits. Many were both. Jeffrey Bowen came over to the house. Jeffrey had been a big man in Motown and with Holland Dozier Holland and had produced for everyone from Marvin Gaye to the Temptations. When he dropped in at Bel Air, he brought his wife, Ruth Copeland, a white girl, English. Ruth was a singer, first in London, then in Detroit. Jeffrey wanted to make her a star, and he wanted to give me a large sum of money to produce her. I liked Ruth, and I didn't always like how Jeffrey acted with her. I brought her back into the studio with me and left Jeffrey out with everybody else. A few minutes passed and a few more. Ruth and I stayed in the studio. Jeffrey came knocking at the door. I sent for Bubba. Man, I said to him, put that motherfucker up out of here. Bubba carried the message. Jeffrey couldn't believe it. I gotta go, he said. You got to hit it, man, Bubba said. That's it, that's all. But Jeffrey didn't leave. He started moving towards the spot in the wall where the studio door was. Bubba got over to him and asked him what he thought he was doing. I'm going to get my wife, he said. Bubba told him to wait. He came back and gave me the update. Man, he wants his wife. She could stay, I said. He has to go. Bubba went back to Jeffrey, gave him the bad news, and put him out. I never did make an album for Ruth. It's okay if you ain't make no album with Ruth, because Ruth started singing with Parliament after a while. That goddamn Sly Stone. And it ain't like he the most attractive man out there, but then neither was George Clinton, and it ain't like, being ugly ever stopped a man from getting some vagina. Now, ugly and poor, yes, but ugly, rich, and famous will put you on the top tier, okay? But that goddamn Sly Stone was vicious with the bitches. Damn, that goddamn Sly Stone must have been that nigga. He be getting bitches. Maybe that's what got the Doris Day. Que sera, sera. Whatever shall be, shall be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. When he remade that, baby, I wonder how much. And I love Doris Day, and my sister would probably smack me in the mouth if she knew I was talking about Doris Day like this. Okay, but que sera, sera. In August, we were at the Isle of a Wight Festival, which was the biggest one yet, bigger than Woodstock, and again with plenty of echoes. Hendrix, The Who, Jefferson Airplane, Melanie. Many of the acts hadn't been at Bethel, though. From Joni Mitchell to Tiny Tim to The Doors to Miles Davis. Some people said that was when Miles started paying close attention to the music we were making. He may have already been heading that way. Bitches Brew had been out for a few months, but the Jack Johnson soundtrack he released the next year went even further in our direction. I was eager to see Jimmy. We were scheduled to have a jam session the night before, or maybe that night, but Jimmy had gone to Ronnie Scott's instead to jam with Eric Burden and War. And Jimmy wasn't at the party either. We'll catch him tomorrow, someone said.
How you do.